This is Average Sports.
By your average guys,
Eric.
and Ty. That would be so bad.
Yeah. This is Average Sports.
Your average sports.
Average Sports.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode
You're
of
listening to Average Sports with your average guys.
Average Sports, average guys, Eric and Ty. Episode 4.
You had to think about it. You almost ran out of fingers on that hand.
I did. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Bam.
Got it.
That's right. It's Average Sports with your average guys.
Eric and Ty.
Yeah, that's me. I'm one of those guys. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, like I said, and we have another good one for you. We're gonna really get ready for spring, though.
Yeah.
Talk about some baseball stuff. See what's going on with baseball.
We're sitting in March right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful spring, I hope. Baseball can get their ish together.
Yeah, right.
So, we'll see.
Yeah, they will. There'll be some kind of baseball for sure. But we should talk about that. So they've been going through discussions and trying to figure things out. Is it really because, just going back to the beginning of why everything has been delayed and just not really going on winter camps and all that good stuff? Because a player's agreement has expired and they're just trying to build a new one?
Correct.
Okay.
So there's currently no agreement in place, collective bargaining agreement in place for the major leagues. It has expired.
Now, I know they're meeting quite a bit, so really just keep in mind, at the time we're recording this, there's not a current one.
Yeah, and so there are, as the MLB or, the people covering this have called them the quote-unquote core economic issues for the league, which really boils down to the minimum salary, the luxury tax on payrolls, the structure of salaries and arbitration, the size of bonus pool for pre-arbitration players, and revenue sharing. So the biggest thing right now is that the luxury tax is not something that's really been discussed among any of the negotiations so far, which means it's going to probably end up being one of the linchpins and kind of figuring this out and one of the final things that really get done. But players obviously want a little bit more money. They want some security. And so, there's a little bit of back and forth. And so far, they haven't been able to come to an agreement yet. But they are meeting quite often.
Yeah.
And quite frequently. I can't promise how much progress they're making.
I feel because we've seen this movie before, though, right?
Of course we have.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time they've gone through negotiations and seen seasons delayed or even postponed or just not happening at all, where maybe there's a player union strike. I think more notably, 94?
94 for baseball, yeah.
Wasn't there another one where we missed either most or all of the season?
entire season? That would have been NHL.
And that was NHL, early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
Remember that. But when it comes to MLB, going back to also the beginning of the pandemic, when a lot of other sports, major sports in the U.S. were figuring things out, okay, here's how we're going to at least do it. No spectators in the stands. Yes, baseball was caught up right at home opener, so you'd think that they were in a tougher position, but at the same time, it felt like all other leagues were getting their act together to come back. Because you also had NBA and NHL and MLS all completely pause and then come back before baseball even knew really what Corona was.
You mean the old man?
Yeah, the old man.
The get off my lawn guy, sport and baseball, couldn't quite figure it out. Yeah. Shocker. Shocker that they're dealing with this right now.
Right. So that's just my point, though, is that, don't be surprised out of any outcome, especially if it takes longer for baseball to really just be baseball. And it's going to be baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether we see it this season or what.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a season. I'm still very confident that's going to get figured out. It was a couple of years ago. What was it for the NFL? 2011, 2012 season where they completely cut preseason because they were in the negotiation for the CBA to get that stuff done. And the first football we saw was the opening night kickoff, and it was Saints Packers. So, whatever year that was, 2011.
Yeah, it's going back a ways, right?
So, so I think we may see something similar to that. Spring training has already currently been delayed. Pitchers and catchers have not reported on time. I have a feeling that, the first couple weeks of spring training are already going to be nixed, and I think we may get a very shortened spring training, and I think we will see a very different type of spring training this year where it's not really trying out the young guys. It's really about, all right, hey, veterans, you need to get some work in. So let's get out there.
Right.
So
season ready.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. And hopefully that's really all it comes down to, and you still get that full season, because one thing that was so disappointing about that pandemic year is that you constantly heard, like, well, they didn't have enough time to train, or it was just kind of this... Scapegoat's a bad way to put it, because everyone was it was a level playing field, but it was just kind of, I don't want that to be the focus. I think that's really all I'm coming from. I don't want to keep hearing, oh, that pitcher's just tired because he didn't get the right regimen. I don't want to hear that as an excuse.
Oh, well, you're definitely going to hear it. That's going to be the spin they put on it.
Of course. I'm just not looking forward to that. It makes me, as a fan, like,
you think Dan McLaughlin up there in the booth, like, he didn't get enough work in the preseason, so he looks awful. Yeah. And, striking out 4 times. Yeah. Of course that's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. Not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, who you got, though, before we get back into baseball? Eric, you always pull these in and bring a little bit of flavor to the show.
Would you rather?
What you got this week?
Would you rather? Would you rather have a mullet for a year?
Okay.
Or have a Bic-shaped head for 6 months? Can't wear wigs.
6 months wear. Well, I mean, you're talking to. So, as a identifying male, I think that a Bic-shaped head is pretty easy to get by with. But also, mullets are in right now.
I feel like I can get away with a mullet, baby.
I can get away with a mullet for a year. I mean, how bad? Like, not
if there's ever a time to legit do that hairstyle, it'd be when it's back.
They're back, yeah. So, are we talking like a Joe Dirt mullet, or just like a Jerry Seinfeld?
Like Joe Dirt mullet. Okay. But I mean,
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I mean, if you got that real stringy hair.
Mullets were big in baseball too, and I think they are.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like visible. Joe Dirt down in the middle of your back mullet, but definitely shoulder length mullet.
Yeah, I've never shaved my head like down with a razor, so
the closest I've gotten is the haircut.
I wouldn't mind though,
now, like a skin fade.
Sure,
so.
I wouldn't mind seeing. I've had my hair pretty darn short though before.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I'm going mullet, baby.
I'd go to the cue ball thing. I mean, I don't know. What I don't want to do is have to work for it, though.
What if you have an oddly shaped head?
I don't care. I mean, 6 months, right? But I just don't want to put the work in. I would shave it once. So if it would be permanent for 6 months, then I could do it.
Okay. You just don't want to keep shaving it?
No, that's just
that's actually I'm just one of the reasons. Yeah, so you would have to keep shaving.
The maintenance.
Your hair's going to keep growing.
No.
Which is why I would probably go mullet.
I'll go mullet.
I can still go get my hair cut every so often and just you need to trim up the sides, make it short.
Right, keep the party in the back though.
Party in the back, baby. Let's go.
Okay, all right.
Going to the trailer park.
Well, like I said though, mullets are still very visible in MLB. I feel like there's a few floating around in hockey right now.
Oh, there's always been mullets.
You're gonna see some in soccer.
Yeah. Always. It's definitely a popular hairstyle right now.
Yeah. But baseball, you had an interesting topic to talk about.
Yeah, it's really
honestly, when we just say anything,
a couple of questions about baseball and what your thoughts are.
But just like with MLB in general, it's one of those sports that we haven't had in a while because we're coming out of the off season. So I'm thinking back, like, dang, I don't even remember who won the World Series. That took a moment. I had to really look at the full list of teams. And like, it was the Braves.
Oh yeah.
Like, it wasn't that long ago.
Like Fred McGriff and Tom Glavine and John Schmaltz and Greg Maddux,
Dave
Justice.
For sure.
All those 1995 Braves.
Yeah. Don't forget about Chipper Jones, man.
Oh,
forget about the great.
Forget about Chipper
What's
Jones.
wrong with you? Yeah.
Fred McGriff.
Well, they did win. Not those guys, but they won last season.
I mean, they did win. They just,
that's true.
27 years ago.
God, yeah, that's feels like such a long time ago. But just going back to like who was good, who was bad, who was better than expected, the Giants. All kinds of that stuff.
Who was really bad? Who was the worst team?
The worst team in the entire league? Why do you like glutton for
I already know the answer to this.
Yeah, I know you do.
Because you're going to bring it up, so I'm just going
what's going to happen, right? And you were right, though. We were talking about this on like who did have the worst record, tied with Arizona. There's this little team in Baltimore, the Orioles. Yeah, 52 wins, 110 losses. That's bad. That's real bad. You should win more baseball games than that.
Yeah, they should win a lot more baseball games than 52.
Yeah.
So bad. Oh, it is painful to be an Orioles fan.
And it has been for such a long time.
Oh my God. We had, like, the mid to late 90s, we had some good teams.
Yeah.
And then, the late 2000 or like early 2010s.
Yeah. It was like around the time the logo changed.
We had some really good teams.
Yeah.
We had some really good teams then. So went all the way to an ALCS one time. We made the playoffs like 4 out of 5 years.
It feels like you have to transplant the Orioles to a different division in order for them to even be competitive.
That's the only way they've ever been competitive is when they can actually put mediocre pitching out there because they can mash.
Yeah.
I mean, that park is built for home run hitters.
Well, that
so are the rest of the parks in the AL East.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's just it's such a tough division. When you're going against
four teams were 90 plus wins.
Oh, I know.
Now, the Orioles are giving up 110 wins to other teams.
Right.
But.
The entire division was in the playoffs or on the bubble. Toronto barely not making it with 91 wins and 71 losses. So incredibly I guess it's top heavy. But just like there's this misrepresentation of it's like all these awesome teams in this division, and then you got Baltimore.
Yeah.
And you know what, though? The NL West isn't that different. I mean, Arizona has to go against the Dodgers, who have been perennially crazy good. San Francisco, who was fantastic with the best record, 107 wins and 55 losses.
Padres, and
then the Padres, who thought we were going to run it away. Now, they did have a below 500 season.
They really struggled.
Melted down.
In August, September.
Yeah.
They completely collapsed.
Just couldn't get it done. So 79 and 83, but they were the expected wild card. And then here you have St. Louis going on a record tear of 11 wins or 17. Yeah, it was a long winning streak.
Yeah,
we haven't seen one of those in a while. Right, that's the only way.
Yeah, it's the only way they were getting in. So
pretty wild.
At least last year. So it was.
So you wanted to talk about teams that did not make it, but could make it this year.
Yeah, I mean, just a simple question. I mean, I
like
got
it.
2 big questions here.
Sure.
What is one team that missed the playoffs in 2021 that will make it in 2022?
One is really easy for me, and we already touched on it, was the Toronto Blue Jays. They look so good.
Great choice.
They had the stuff. It's just that it's a very tough division. And when you have Boston that's continuing to win, they were outperforming their expectation. Boston wasn't supposed to be as good, but there they were. They were right in it, and they won a wild card spot. Same with the Yankees. Both had a 92 and 70 record. So only split by 1 game, though, were the Blue Jays. They were right there. It only came down to a couple of runs, a couple of pitches, maybe a couple of errors, whatever, over the course of the season that determined that Toronto just wasn't going to be good enough. Seattle was another one that was surprisingly
they
can do it.
90 plus wins.
And and you can't really make the same excuse that they're in a tough division. They have some good clubs in that Western division. Don't get me wrong.
Well, and the Mariners are a young, ascending team. I think they're a huge up and coming team. So definitely on the lookout for them.
Seattle and Oakland can be there. I'm just excited though when it comes to. I'm not going to steal your team, but I'm going to pick a team from the division. Cleveland Guardians.
Cleveland Guardians.
Okay. So we got a new team coming. I'm just excited to see that.
Yeah, little logo change. So mine is from that same division, and it is the Detroit Tigers. They finished, last year under 500, 77 and 85.
Right.
And I think that's quite misleading because they had such a terrible start to the year. I want to say they were probably worse than Baltimore to start the season through the beginning of May.
So bad.
8 and 22.
Okay.
I mean, that's a 267 winning percentage. That's horrendous.
Yeah, that's bad.
Through their first 30 games, that's really, really, really bad. But since then, they were over 500. They were 69 and 63 to then finish out the season. And this team is talented, they're fun to watch, especially coming down the stretch. I think the Tigers are going to be a team that can compete in the AL Central.
Okay.
You know, I think the Twins are due for a bounce back as well too.
Yeah, that's such a strong point though you're making though, with just like how they finished off the season. It'd be interesting to see though. If they
it wasn't like just a month. Like it was their last 120 or 133 games.
Right.
Like they just had such a poor start that they were never really able to make it up.
I'd be interested to know if they're going through like a lot of shakeup though. If they're losing how much talent. I mean, every team's going to have a little bit of turnover. You don't have the exact same club.